make more time.
And good evening and welcome to another edition of Sports Corner. My name is Ralph Williams and it's great to be here tonight once again. It's Tuesday night and we're supposed to have a 2-hour special tonight. My first guest is coming on right now, Steve BALESTRIERI, and I'm going to get him up right now. And Steve, welcome to the show.
Hey, Ralph, I appreciate the offer, and it's good to talk to you again. It's been a while.
Yeah. How you feeling, man?
Getting better. You know,
that's good.
Went through some rough times there medically, but on the mend now and starting to feel a little bit better. And now the football season's among us. I think that's a cure for anything.
That's it. That's exactly it. Okay, Steve, we're going to talk about the 600-pound gorilla in the room tonight, the New England Patriots. I want to compliment Bill Belichick for a great coaching job last year with Mac Jones. And, he didn't have Tom Brady. He didn't have a lot of the stars that he normally did. Brought back Matt Patricia. And I see brought back Joe Judge this year. Steve, what's your thoughts on what the Patriots look like this year?
It's going to be interesting because they're changing a lot of moving parts right now. They're simplifying their offense, and they're going to, they're changing the way they play offense. They're going to like a Shanahan style, of offense.
Mm-hmm.
So things are going to look different. I know they added Devontae Parker. They also added a speed guy in the second round of the draft, Tyquan Thornton. So that's one of the things this offense lacked was they lacked a speed guy. They also drafted Pierre Strong in the fourth round of the draft. He's a running back that was the fastest running back in the draft this year, and he might be the heir apparent to James White, their third down back. So the offense is going to look a lot different, and so is the defense. I mean, when you look at the big scheme of things, they had Donta Hightower in the middle for 10 years plus, and, Kyle Van Noy, Jamie Collins, all three of those guys are gone. They're going with younger, more athletic, faster linebackers, but they've lost a lot of experience there. That's a lot of experience that's gone. And, we'll see how if it all gels together when these guys they've had pads on for 2 days, but really until the preseason games start, we won't really know how the defense is going to come together.
I see that Bill Belichick hasn't decided to go with any coordinators this year. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, it's not the first time he's done this. In 2010, they didn't have an offensive or a defensive coordinator, and Belichick does this. They haven't actually had a defensive coordinator named since Matt Patricia left for the Lions. And I think he does it to ease the burden on those guys. I think they have guys with that responsibility. They just don't have the title. And that way if there's any criticism that comes down, it'll go on Belichick and not on them. And, it also takes away from them the media responsibilities that coordinators have to do each week during the season. So if they're not named a coordinator, they don't have to do that.
I see. We're talking with Steve BALESTRIERI, who is a specialist in reporting about the New England Patriots. Steve, what does the overall team look like this year as far as like special teams, defense, offense? As you mentioned, the offense is a little younger this year. What's the line of scrimmages look like? The lines on both the defense and the offensive side and special teams.
Yeah, they have a lot of moving parts on the offensive line. Trent Brown has moved from right tackle to left tackle where he played when he was with the Patriots back in, I think it was 2018. And they moved Isaiah Wynn, their former first-round draft pick. They moved him to right tackle. They traded Shaq Mason, who was a longtime right guard. They traded him to the Bucks. And now Michael Onwenu, who was a starter in his rookie season, but was a backup last year, he's going to be a right guard. And they drafted Cole Strange, who was their first round draft pick this year. He's going to be the left guard. The only real constant is David Andrews at center. So I think the offensive line is going to be fine. It might take them a few weeks into the regular season to get everybody comfortable in their role.
I see. One other thing too, I noticed that Bill Belichick, and I checked out the coaching staff, and it seems like his sons are on the staff. What are his sons like? Are they as good as as their dad, or are they just coming around, or what's going on?
Well, he started both of them off like he started off as an offensive assistant. The guys who do the grunt work, they have to break down tape and tendencies and all that. And they did that for a few years before he moved them to assistant positional coaches. And, his one son, Steve, has now worked his way up. Steve is probably the de facto defensive coordinator. By all accounts, he's a really good coach. His son, Brian, is now one of the secondary coaches. And I don't know as much about him. He's just kind of finding his feet. But I think Steve is pretty much the defensive coordinator. He's officially a linebackers coach with Gerard Mayo. But I think those two kind of share coordinator duties.
Yeah, Mayo was up for coaching job interviews or so this past season. It seems like he didn't. It didn't seem like that was going to happen. What's your thoughts with Matt Patricia and Joe Judge coming back now from the Giants? And also, what's going on with the offense? Who's going to run the offense coaching wise?
Yeah, I think it's Matt Patricia's show. I mean, he's been a defensive coordinator as well as a head coach. Joe Judge was a head coach with the Giants. Neither one of them was successful as a head coach, but neither was Belichick his first time around. So
I remember when he coached the Browns.
Yeah, exactly. And so again, I mean, I think it's Matt Patricia's show. Mac Jones, the first day of camp, was talking about how Patricia is, switching over to the offense, and he's presenting things to him. This is how the defense wants to play. This is how they're going to line up. This is what they're trying to do to you. This is how we're going to combat it. So Jones was, towing the party line, basically. But he was saying that Patricia brings a lot to the table, as well as Judge. They both have experience as head coaches. I mean, so, they've done their share of game planning. They've done their share of calling in plays. So I think it's going to be Patricia's show, because that's him and Belichick go way back, and Belichick trusts him. And, until we see something on the field that doesn't look right, I think it's going to be fine.
What's your thoughts on the schedule this year? Does it look strong? Does it look weak? Can they win? What do you think?
They have a tough schedule right off the bat. Then kind of like last year, in the middle of the season, they have some games where they can start putting stuff together. And their last 5 weeks is going to be real tough. They have 2 games against the Bills late in the season. They have to go down to Miami, which has traditionally been a house of horrors for them. Since Miami came in the league, it has not been a really good place for the Patriots to play.
Yeah, I know there were times when when Wannstedt was the coach down there, and there were times when they would beat New England and have one of the worst records in the league and still beat New England. I mean, it's like they show up for New England, which I wish the Steelers would have at times. You know what I mean?
Sometimes the Steelers and Patriots games, like during the Brady era, those were some great football games.
I was there the last one that they had at Heinz Field before this one that's coming up this year. I was working at Heinz Field, and when they won that 17-10 game, that was a really interesting game.
Yeah, that was that game was like that was a wake up call for the Patriots. That was the last time they lost that year. They had to revamp a lot of stuff because the Steelers brought it to them, and that's that's what football's all about. But I thought that was a great rivalry, you know, from the Brady Belichick years of Ben Roethlisberger, Mike Tomlin. I mean, those were some great football games.
Yes, especially some of the heartbreakers when Bill Cowher was coach. I mean,
Yes.
especially the 15-1 year. I thought the Steelers were going to blow them out because they had already beaten them in the regular season, and then the disappointing loss in 2001 with Cordell Stewart. That was a disappointing loss. We had beaten them in the regular season then too. So there's been some disappointing losses at home. And and then the Fog Bowl in 1996, I remember that one. And Jerome Bettis was hurt. Oh, that was a crazy game.
The Fog Bowl was incredible because you couldn't see into the secondary that game.
And we had Myron Cope still alive at the time, and he's going into the Steelers Hall of Fame this year. The Steelers, we have a Hall of Fame here for the Steelers, and this year he's going into the Steeler Hall of Fame. And I could hear him on the radio going, "I can't see over the fog." I'm like,
I know. I mean, I remember that game because when they showed it down at field level, right behind the quarterback, you couldn't see where the safeties were. And I'm like, how are the safeties supposed to cover guys in that game? That was one of the strangest games I ever remember.
Oh yeah, because I never saw nothing with fog like that. I mean, it was crazy.
And all the people who paid big money to see that game, sitting up in the cheap seats, couldn't see a darn thing.
Couldn't see anything. Oh my gosh. Steve, what do you think the division looks like this year? For you guys.
I think it's Buffalo's division. I think they're one of the two best teams, at least in the AFC. I think Buffalo's going to go far this year. I think it's their division. I still think, I know a lot of people disagree. I think the Patriots have a really good shot at returning to the playoffs because I think Mac Jones, he's showing all the signs of making that big year 2 jump, which you expect guys to do after their rookie season. And I thought he had a pretty solid season as a quarterback. They eased him along. I mean, they protected him. They were very, very conservative for most of the year. And then as the season wore on, they kind of eased off on him a little bit. But this is his team now. And he looks sharp. He looks a lot different. He's worked on his body over the, off season. Now he has a year of the system under his belt. I think he's going to play real well.
Well, that's good. That's good. What do you think of the Colts this year with Matt Ryan? You think they're going to do any good, or do you think they're going to lay an egg like they have?
Well, I thought the only thing holding the Colts back last year was their quarterback. And I thought they were a real solid team. And I think if Matt Ryan, I think he, like Tom Brady was in 2020, I think he has something to prove that he can still play at a very high level. I would expect him to have a really good year this year.
Steve BALESTRIERI is our guest tonight here on Sports Corner. We have a very special 2-hour edition. Later on, I have Mike Westhoff coming on to talk about the Jets and his new book in regards to the Jets. That's coming up at 8:30. Right now, we're talking to Steve BALESTRIERI about New England Patriots football and a whole lot more. Steve, you live in Florida right now, correct?
Yes, I moved down here like 2 years ago.
You follow the Florida teams down there?
I do. I've always followed the Dolphins because they were in the division. Yeah, and I like the Bucks just because I used to love the pirate ship. Not a big
Raymond James Stadium is a unique place to play. What do you think?
It was funny because a buddy of mine that I served in the military with, he had sideline passes the year of COVID. We were supposed to go. We were supposed to go to a Bucks game late in the season. I think it was late November or early December, and we had sideline passes. And lo and behold, that was the year of COVID, and never got a chance to go.
What's your thoughts on the Miami Dolphins, the owner getting fined, and them losing some draft picks in the current season? What do you think they're up to this year?
Yeah, that's I saw that today. There was rumors. Brian Flores in his lawsuit had mentioned that the Dolphins had tried to, tamper with Tom Brady a couple of times. And now it comes out that the NFL says they, in fact, did. And then supposedly they did again this year. I know that in 2019, Brady was very upset with the Patriots because I heard from a close friend of his that the Patriots had initially offered him a 3-year deal to stay, and then they pulled it back off the table. So I know
Wow.
Brady was really upset that year because, I've been down there at training camp, and he's always been very gracious with the media. He's always been very polite. He was really short that summer. And
Wow.
he was like, you would get monosyllabic answers, which is very unlike him. And you could tell something was stuck in his craw. And I was surprised that the league didn't come back on him over that. And then I also heard that the Dolphins did it with Sean Payton as well. So
yeah, I see that. I saw that there. Do you think Sean Payton will come back? Do you think any?
I do.
I think Dallas is pursuing him a little bit, Steve. I think the Cowboys want him. I can't believe Jerry Jones put Mike McCarthy on a short leash, because he was all worked up and angry. But I heard they had a lot of talent there, and it just didn't work with him for this first season.
Yeah, we'll see what happens this year. I know Jerry has, he has a short leash with just about everybody.
Except Jason Garrett.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there was a time there where I don't think anyone other than Jason Garrett would have taken that job for a little bit. But they do have some talent on that football team, and they never seem to be able to put it together. And we'll see if Mike McCarthy can do it this year. But going back to the Dolphins, I think the Dolphins have a pretty good football team this year. They've made some big additions, and I think they're going to go as far as their quarterback can take them.
I see. Well, they're going to have to really make up for some losses because they didn't have any picks in the first 3 rounds. They didn't start their draft till the 4th round. So they're they had to make up for the draft losses by signing free agents and trying to do what they can as far as that goes. And with the new coach McDonald, I think that, he's supposed to be an offensive mind. Let's see what he does with Tua. Let's see how that works out. What's your thoughts on Jacksonville and Tampa? Tampa Bay has got Todd Bowles. Everybody's talking highly of him. He didn't have the talent when he was in New York and things like that.
I thought the Jets really did a bad turn with him because they had a lot of cap space. They didn't want to spend it. They kind of hung him out to dry. I think Todd Bowles is a great coach. I thought the Jets made a great move when they hired him. I just thought they didn't do right by him. And right. I'm glad to see him get a second opportunity. That's a good football team in Tampa. They lost some people, but they also brought back some good players. So
who does New England have for a backup to Matt Jones this year?
Well, they still have Brian Hoyer.
Oh, get out.
He's been
he's Mr. Reliable. He's usually pretty good.
Yeah, and he's been a good mentor for Mac Jones. They drafted Bailey Zappi.
And, they did. I remember him. Yeah,
he set the NCAA record with 62 touchdowns last year. But I mean, you have to take into account that it was, not the top echelon of opponents, but at the same time, 62 touchdowns is 62 touchdowns.
I was on Scott Morganroth on one of his shows, and he was talking about that Zappi kid. And then I read some publications about him, and they had him pretty good. I'm surprised he didn't go quicker in the draft, but it was
his first couple of days of training camp. I mean, as you can imagine, a rookie trying to learn a new offense. He looked like a rookie out there for a few days. But he had a pretty strong day today. He
that's
looked good out. Yeah, he looked good.
Yeah, we have Kenny Pickett. So, Kenny Pickett had a good day as well today. We have a quarterback competition going on here. And this is going to be the first year in the 15-year tenure of Mike Tomlin that he's not going to have a franchise quarterback at his disposal. He's going to have to really figure out who's going to be the quarterback here. Mitch Trubisky seems like he's the front runner, but don't sell Mason Rudolph short. He's going to be in that competition. I think they're going to ease Kenny Pickett into the picture unless they necessarily have to put him in like Ben had to learn, on the fly. Right. So we'll see what happens with this quarterback competition here with the Steelers.
Tomlin's a smart coach, and you don't want to throw the kid's feet to the fire if he's not ready right away. And I think easing him in would be the best way. You have two veterans there. But I thought Pickett was the most pro-ready of the quarterbacks that came out this year.
Yeah, he had a good offensive coordinator at Pitt. He had Mark Whipple, and then all of a sudden Whipple up and ran away and went to Nebraska this year, and he's going to be coaching under Scott Frost up there this year as their offensive coordinator. He kind of lied to Pitt, told us he was leaving. He had to take care. I hear his wife is sick. Said he had to go take care of his wife and wasn't going to do football anymore. And then all of a sudden, the next day, he signs with Nebraska after he left Pitt and kind of left Pitt hanging. And, I had a guy on from here last week on my show, Jerry DePaula. He covers Pitt for the one of our papers here. And he did say there was a little bit of friction between Whipple and Narduzzi, which caused that to happen. But, and then for Kenny Pickett to come back to Pitt and then move on to the Steelers. So we have
the good thing for Pickett is that he only moved across the hall, basically.
Yeah, that's a good news. Yeah. Steve, we have Noel here on the comments section. He says hello to both of us. And then we have a check mark comment from somebody on Facebook who sends a check mark for or put his thumbs up for the New England Patriots. That might be my nephew because he likes the New England Patriots. So believe it or not.
I know there's not a lot of Patriots fans in Pittsburgh.
No, but there are a few. Everybody's used to like Tom Brady. And then when he moved on, now they like Tampa Bay and, things like that, So, it seems like it's going to be an interesting season this year. We have some few new coaches. The NFL's going to – what's your thoughts on Deshaun Watson? I was going to talk about that later on my own, but I want to get your thoughts on it. What's your thoughts on this suspension? Do you think the NFL has egg on their face?
Well, it's not over yet. I think he's going to end up with a larger suspension than 6 games. And, when I look at it, I mean, there's at least 30 women making accusations at him. That doesn't mean that ends there. It could be even more.
Right.
And with something like this, I mean, where there's smoke, there's fire. I just don't believe that 30 women just got together and said, we're going to make something up about Deshaun Watson. I don't believe that. I think there was something there. I mean, look, Ben Roethlisberger had that one incident, and he got suspended for a quarter of the season.
Right. Well, actually, there was 2. He had the one in Lake Tahoe, and then he had the one in Georgia at his private ranch or his private house down in Georgia.
Oh, I wasn't aware of the one in Georgia. I remember hearing about the one in Tahoe. Mm-hmm. But, when you're talking about 30 different women make it, and these are, women who are professional masseuses, not, you know what I'm saying? I feel like, the league has to step in and do something because this 6 games is not right. I think it should be more. I really do. And
so do I. I thought he should have been suspended at least for no less a year. And they banned Martavius Bryant from a former Steeler receiver from the league for smoking pot. But here he does more. You know what I mean? So we have some comments here. Somebody from here wants to know, Noel, he wants to know what's our thoughts on Antrell Roll? What's your thoughts, Steve? Antrell Roll, what's your thoughts on him?
I'm drawing a blank right now.
Yeah, so am I. I mean, I know he plays for somebody off the top of my head. I can't think at this moment.
Yeah, but, I'm drawing a blank tonight. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we have a few other comments here too. So, but anyway, comments I'm not going to talk about. I got these people here that have what they call no life. You know what I mean? And they throw their comments out on the comment section. So, But anyway, that's the story of my life sometimes with people.
No, I think
Anyway.
it's going to be a great football season. I mean, I always look forward. I've been a fan of the NFL since I was just a young kid, and I talk to people because I grew up in the era of the AFL and NFL, and
Yeah, so did I. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it was vastly different back then. I mean,
Oh yeah.
the Patriots. I went to my first Patriots game. They didn't even have a home. They played their games at Fenway Park when I was just a
Wow.
little kid.
Whoa.
And it wasn't
Jeez,
a
that's really
stadium
going back. I remember Raymond Barry when he was the coach.
Oh
I
yeah,
remember
in the
that.
80s.
You know.
Yeah. He
Yeah.
took them to the Super Bowl.
Yes,
But
he
then,
did. Yes.
Then the Bears annihilated them. But
Yeah, I know. And then you had Parcells, and then you had Belichick, and then you had a few
Pete
other.
Carroll was
Yeah, Pete
Parcells.
Carroll. I forgot about
Yeah.
Pete Carroll. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. He was there. So
and Pete Carroll didn't get a good deal because the guy who was the GM at the time, Chris Greer, he gave the players a back door where they could go up and see him with their issues without going through Pete.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
So.
Steve, thanks for being on the show. I appreciate it. I'll have you come on again, maybe towards the end of the season, maybe during the playoffs. We'll talk some more football. Thanks for coming on, and have a great night. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'm a big fan of your next guest, Mike Westhoff. I thought.
He's waiting in the waiting room, so I'm getting ready to bring him up now.
Well,
so.
I won't keep you any longer, but all my best to him. Even though I'm not a Jets
thanks,
fan.
Steve. Yeah. All right, thank you. Have
Take
a great
care.
night. Thanks for being on. All right, that was Steve BALESTRIERI talking about the New England Patriots, and now my next guest is going to be Mike Westhoff. Mike, how you doing?
I'm fine, Ralph. How are you?
Good, great to have you on tonight, Mike. I understand.
Thank you. You're welcome.
You have a book out about the New York Jets.
It's about several things. The Jets are certainly a very large part of it, but it's my whole career that's got several teams involved. Certainly, there's a lot to it. There's a lot more to it than just football, frankly. But the New York Jets have a big part. Yes, they do.
I see. Anyway, you were once an assistant coach for some teams. What was it like coaching then as opposed to coaching now?
That's a good question. I mean, since I'm not coaching now, I can't give you a 100% answer. To tell you the truth, it's a little difficult for me to answer that, Ralph, because of the fact that, I'm not currently doing it. But I did it a few years ago with the Saints. I found it no different. I really did. Now,
it's the same.
There's more. Yeah, when I was with the New Orleans Saints,
right,
back in 2017 and 18, I came out of retirement and went back to work for them. I did nothing differently than I had ever done in my entire career. I just coached the same way, which is not always the easiest because I'm a little bit tough on guys. But I certainly respect them, and that manifested itself pretty well with me. There are more distractions today than ever, just like anything else. Social media has a big part. These guys are constantly bombarded with 1,000 things, and as a coach, you have to be able to funnel them. I don't find that difficult because I found that good players want to play well, and I think they want to be coached the right way. Now, you don't have to be yelling and screaming at them all the time. No, you just have to you have to coach them. But you also, I learned this a long time ago from a very, very good football coach, a guy named Don Shula. And he did a pretty good job. Okay, sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he was pretty good. And he told me, he said, sometimes being a good coach, it's not always being the most popular guy. He said, sometimes it's tough.
Right.
He said, sometimes you have to be tough. And he said, it's better to be unpopular on Thursday than on Monday after you watch the film. So you can be a son of a gun sometimes on Thursday. Because then on Monday, you might be sitting in there watching a film and telling the guys, hey, that's a great job. Take a look. But on Thursday, they might have wanted to kill you. That's what it used to be with me. Because I was really tough during the week. Because I knew that when I watched that film, I wanted to be the most complimentary, positive guy in the world, but because of what I was watching was done at such a degree of excellence.
What gave you the inspiration, Mike, to write the book about the Jets and your coaching career?
You got to quit calling it a book about the Jets now. You're going to get me in trouble.
I know.
Because all those guys at Miami are going to be mad at me.
I don't want that to happen.
No, well, you see what shirt I have on tonight, don't you?
Yes, I see that.
I got my Jet shirt on. Come on, I wear it all the time.
I know.
And I love the places that I was. The reason I wrote the book was this, Ralph. I always believed that I would like to do it. I'm an avid reader. I read a lot. I read a lot of novels. I enjoy it myself. I like it. And I always wondered if I could do it. And I thought, I have some of my favorite authors. James Lee Burke is probably my favorite American fictional author, which I read his stuff all the time. But nonetheless, I thought this would be a good challenge to see if I could make this happen. And I knew that I had a very good story to tell. Because I came along in this business when I got into National Football League. I was only 33 years old. And I got in, and I was at the time, I was with the Baltimore Colts when Frank Kush was the head coach. All right. And I wrote all about how this happened. But anyway, I was the strength coach, which I only did it because they didn't have anybody else, and I were trying to get a guy, so I filled in. All right, I was the strength coach. I was the tight ends coach. I helped coach the offensive line, and I was Frank's assistant. Well, then he was going to fire our special teams coach. I talked him out of firing the guy, and I said, look, I'll take it over. I'll do it. So now I'm the special teams coach. I didn't know anything. Ralph, I didn't know anything about it. Though I had to learn it. I had to learn it from scratch. But then what I realized very early in my pursuit is that part of the game really was just getting started. It was kind of spread out among the staff. This guy would coach this guy's, and this guy might coach the kickoff team, stuff like that. I learned very quickly that there was almost no innovation. It was just everybody did the same thing. But then the key thing I learned is that there was basically no regulation. You could do anything back in those days. So I tried everything. I became creative. And I think I helped. I think I did more than help. I mean, I'm pretty cocky about it. I think I actually, I don't mean to be, I'm not arrogant. I'm absolutely not.
I understand.
But I'm a little cocky about it. I think I actually got it started and took that part of the game, to a point of prominence where it had never been before. And with the new rules, Ralph, it'll never be again. Never.
Wow,
so
that's
I
crazy.
wanted to tell that story. That's why I wrote the book.
Oh, okay, great. What's your thoughts? Who's your favorite Jets coach, or coach that you coached under?
Okay, well that's easy when you get a coach that I coached under, because that's Don Shula.
Okay.
I mean, Don Shula was not, as I described him in my book, Don Shula wasn't the head coach of the Miami Dolphins.
Right.
Don Shula was the head coach of the National Football League. I mean, he ran the whole business.
The whole
he
business,
was involved.
right.
He was involved in every part of it, Ralph. He knew the financial part. He knew every rule. He was a permanent member of the competition committee. He was for doing things the right way. He believed in the integrity of the game. There was no cheating with Don Shula. Nobody ever accused him of filming a practice.
Right. Well, we had a great coach here in Pittsburgh. Chuck Noll worked under Don Shula.
Sure he did.
Sure. And
Chuck Noll you know what a great coach Chuck Noll was.
Oh, he was. I have his
great
book
coach.
Here. He was.
Pardon
me? I have his book here, that his biography.
He was a brilliant man.
Yes, he
was.
was.
And he could do a lot of things. He learned how to fly a plane. He learned how to sail. I mean, he could do everything. He was really a very intellectual person, and did so many things so well. And he got that whole thing started in Pittsburgh. Yeah, he worked for Coach Shula. They were very close.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
Those were kind of, when I started, they were the icons in the business. Not only did you have guys like that, you had Tom Landry.
Right.
You had Bill Walsh. You had Mike Ditka. We can go on and on and on.
Yeah.
Those were the guys that when I got into the National Football League, they ran the show. those coaches ran the business. You know, I mean that's who the great ones were. When you look around, you go around the league. You know, you can rattle them off. You know, the Bill Parcells of the world. Those were great football coaches that really took the game to a tremendous level, and that's who I learned from. That's where I learned. So Don was the guy there that really I would have to. It's not even close. Just working for him was such an honor. Now, when I was with the Jets, to answer your question there, you know, they were all different. Herman was very actually fun to work, was a good guy to work for. He was a good man. He wasn't as prepared maybe to step into the head coaching role as some other people maybe were. You know, the clock management, things like that. But he was a good man and did some things pretty well. Eric Mangini came along kind of out of nowhere, you know, kind of a Bill Belichick type guy. And there's some things that he did very well. But there were some things that Eric had issues with, and that kind of took him down. Rex Ryan, when I was with Rex, I very much enjoyed it. We were good. We were a good football team.
Right.
Rex had a good philosophy that he believed in. You know, he wanted to run the ball, control the clock, be very good on defense, and he gave me. I pretty much had an all-star team. He left me alone, and it was fun. I liked working with him. I really did. He was a pleasure to be around. He's a good man. Now, you know, some of his craziness, believe me when I'm telling you this, it never, and I'm telling you the right word, it never manifested itself into the team. Never. We had a good disciplined team. Rex did things the right way. We had good practices. There was never any fooling around. We never had trouble off the field. Rex did a nice job. Now, Rex, you know, he can get carried away with things in the media. That's just who he is. You know, and sometimes, but I enjoyed my years with them. I was disappointed that we had a type of image football team. And all of a sudden, you know, we started to drift away from it and we became a whole different other team. And that team was terrible and they have never recovered from that. Now, I think from what I saw last week, I was at their practice and they look like they're maybe trying to get back in the right direction. So I'm gonna really root for them and hope that they do so.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you that question, but let me ask you this: what was your thoughts on Adam Gase? I mean, I heard he was a little tough to work with and things like that.
I don't know enough to say, Ralph. Don't know him. Don't know enough to say. I know what he's done.
Right.
You know, he had the reputation of being the quarterback guy. You know, the quarterback guru. Frankly, I didn't really see it for much myself, to be honest with you. But I don't know enough to comment because I wasn't really involved with him. And you know, I wasn't when he was the coach. You know, I wasn't doing my media work. You know, with SMY or ESPN. You know, that was Todd Bowles mostly and Rex Ryan. So I can't answer your question. I don't know the guy. I don't know him. I know.
Right.
I know they struggled. I can tell you that.
What about Rich Coltite? I remember when he was there. What was his? How did he?
Beyond, I'll tell you. I can only know going against him as an opponent.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah.
I
was just curious about him.
We loved playing them. I gotta tell
There you go.
Shoot me. We liked playing. We just thought we were better than them.
That's
I was
great.
in Miami then. We were pretty good. We were better than them. So
you were a special teams coach, right?
Well, I did a little bit of everything. When I first went to work for Coach Shula, I coached the tight ends and special teams. And then when our offensive line coach, John Sandusky, had some health issues, I coached the offensive line. I helped with that. I did it for a while. So that was my background. And then when I eventually I became a special teams coordinator, and then I just stuck with that for the end of my career.
Oh, that's great to hear. I have my guest tonight here on Sports Corners, Mike Westhoff. Earlier we talked with Steve Balestrieri. Steve wanted me to send hello to you there, Mike.
Yeah,
he says he's
sure.
a big fan of yours. I just had him on. We were talking about the Patriots and football in general. Have you been able to keep up with the Deshaun Watson situation? What's your thoughts on that?
I would like, and here's how I know a little bit about Deshaun. I can tell you a personal issue with it. When I finished my coaching in 2012, all right, I for 5 years, I worked with the media, SMY, ESPN, and also I started a consulting business. I went around to various colleges, and because the rules were the same, back then. Now they've changed so much that I couldn't do that job now that I did then. And I consulted with different colleges and I put things in for them. Okay, my schools that I had, you listen to these, this is the best schools that play the game. I had LSU was my first one. Then I had Texas A&M, Notre Dame, West Virginia, Penn State,
Wow.
Clemson, and Alabama.
Whoa. Alabama.
Okay, now when I was at Clemson, Clemson brought me in and they showed me some film and they said, Mike, we think, because they had just lost to Alabama in the championship game. They said, we think we can beat these guys, but we weren't very good in the kicking game. Can you help us? I said, well, let me watch. I watched 5 minutes of film. I said, shut it off. I'm going to change everything. I said, yeah, I can help you. Then they introduced me to Deshaun Watson. When Dabo Sweeney brought him in, introduced me to him, and then when he left, he said, you know, this kid, since he's come here, he never went home. He stayed here year-round. You know, he graduated in 3 years. He got his degree from Clemson in 3 years. He was a hard worker and a good man. So what I know of him, I really liked and respected because I saw a guy that really went to work. His teammates, his coaches, they thought the world of him.
Right.
Well, he won the national championship for them. So he did okay. And then in the pros, in the NFL at Houston, he did a heck of a job. He got involved in whatever he's involved with, and I feel for him. I'm not condoning anything that he's involved with. I don't believe in that kind of stuff. I'd like to see him get some help and get his life straightened back out. I think this is a good man that can solve his problems. I hope so. I'm going to root for him to get his life back on track. Because I like people to get a second chance. I think he made some mistakes, and he's paying a price for those mistakes. I hope he gets enough help to get himself back. Because I can remember sitting down at Clemson and hearing nothing but praise for a really good young man that was trying to do it the right way. So I'm hoping that that's who the guy really is. That's what I'm hoping for.
Noel, here on the comments section, Mike wants me to ask you what your thoughts were on Darrelle Revis. And did you coach him?
Loved him. I helped draft him. I loved him.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I was involved.
Yeah.
I watched him work out. I know a lot about him.
Right.
I was there for most of his career, his whole career. I was with him almost the whole time.
Okay, great.
Until I went to New Orleans, okay, and witnessed Drew Brees.
Wow.
I thought Darrelle Revis was the hardest working practice player I had witnessed in my 32-year career.
And then
Darrelle
and then
Revis.
and then you came across Drew Brees.
Drew kind of knocked it out of the box because no one works harder on the practice field than Drew Brees. I mean, he is off the charts, Ralph. You talk
That
about
is great.
I mean,
That's
you
great.
watch the way when I went there, I didn't know anybody at the Saints, and they talked me into coming out of retirement, and I had a ball, and I helped them. They wanted to improve their special teams. They thought they had a good team. I went in there, they were ranked 31st. When I left, we were first, so I helped them.
Well, there you go. There you go.
But I loved watching Drew Brees. But Darrelle Revis, I take my hat off the way that guy worked. He wouldn't let. I remember this. I used to get a kick out of this. In practice, sometimes just starting off, they'd be going through, adjustments, and they'd be going through how the defense would adjust to different formations. All right. Now, Rex used to be the quarterback sometimes. It was a walkthrough. I mean, it was just a walkthrough.
Right.
And he'd be being the quarterback. And then he'd throw the ball out there, and Rex can throw. Rex wouldn't let him complete a pass to his son. He'd knock it down. Darrelle Revis. Darrelle wouldn't let him complete a pass. Darrelle Revis competes on every single play. I used to love watching him in practice. I was in charge of our officiating. And we did. I'm proud of what I did with that. We did a good job. But anyway, if one of our guys would call a foul on Darrelle Revis in practice, like a lot of the guys would complain, I didn't go that. Not Darrelle. He'd go right to him. Why did you throw it? What did I do? Tell me what I did.
Right.
He wanted to know. Now, he didn't always agree, but he wanted to know. Darrelle Revis was an intelligent, hard-working football player that's a guarantee Hall of Fame guy and should be. To me, he was everything that you want in an NFL player. I loved watching him on the field. I loved it.
Well, that's great. I have well, I don't know if it's the real one or not. I have a TJ Hushmanzada, and I was
Might
a
be.
I used to be a cab driver here in Pittsburgh, and I picked him and Chad Johnson up once from downtown Pittsburgh. They had to go out to one of our malls to get their phones fixed, and I had him in my cab. He's a nice guy, and him and Chad Johnson. TJ Hushmanzada wants to know what Tim Tebow was like.
I wonder why he wants to know that. That's a
I
good
don't know.
question. I'll
That's
tell
an
you. I'll tell you
interesting
what.
question.
Personally, I like Tim Tebow, and I think in a lot of ways. Excuse me.
Oh, there you go. God bless you.
Excuse me. I'm
God
sorry.
bless you.
I moved
That's
away
okay.
from my. I moved away from my microphone. I did the best I could.
That's all right.
Tim is not. Was a good football player, not a great NFL quarterback by any means. He's just not. I didn't think he was. I mean, if you don't believe me, ask Bill Belichick. He had him in camp, and he let him go. You know, when we signed Tim Tebow, it was going to be in the role of a kind of multi-position guy. He was going to play a little bit of different things. I think he was very well prepared to do that. Our offense of guys did not hold up their end of the bargain. I held up mine. I used him on my punt team, and we ran all kinds of fakes, and it really worked. He was great for me in that role. Is he a guy that's going to run down on a kickoff team and make the tackle? No. It's not him. So as a football player, I think he fits in a particular role. Other than that, I frankly didn't really like it. As a college football player, I think he was a great, and he certainly got a Heisman Trophy, and I think he absolutely deserves it. But in the NFL, I didn't see the great quarterback talent. I saw a guy, though, for me, that when I used him in, he did a very good job. That was it wasn't like he was a full-time special teams player like Taysom Hill. No. That's Taysom Hill does it all. He'll knock your head off.
I see that. Yes.
Tim Tebow's a little different guy, but Tim in those roles, I thought he could have got the job done, and I think our offense very, very much misused him and did a very poor job in that regard. Very poor.
Mike, you said you took a look at Jets training camp practices this year.
Just one. Just one.
What do you think they look like with Sal as their head coach?
Well, I can only tell you what I saw. I only saw practice.
Right.
I saw a well-organized, pretty disciplined football team that runs pretty well. That's not a real big team. They almost looked a little small to me, which to me I kind of like, because I like that small, fast guys. That I love that. I mean, so that's impressive to me. They looked in pretty good shape. I like that. And I didn't see dumb mistakes. I didn't see guys that didn't know how to line up. I didn't see penalties all over the place. I saw one a miss handoff that was a bobbled exchange. One. I didn't see anything. I saw a pretty well organized, disciplined, sharp practice. I mean, people moving quickly from one drill to another. It looked well organized. You know, again, believe me, it's only just getting started. I'm not trying to make more of it than what it is. But the way I look at things, you know, I can't help it when I walk out there as a coach. I always have on my coach's glasses. Everything I look at, I see as a coach. I can't help it. I'm not a fan.
Right.
And so what I saw was for that first day, a good football practice. Does that mean they're going to be a good football team? I can't answer that.
Right.
But what I saw, because I'm not trying to, did they have a game plan in that was ready to play opening day? Of course not.
No.
But the game plan they had in on offense and defense, I thought it looked like they knew what the heck they were doing. That's what I felt that I witnessed.
Well,
and that's a good thing.
Oh, yeah, because being organized, and I think you'll agree with me as a coach, being organized can also mean that even though you lose the game, you lose a close game, but at least you're organized and ready to play. You know, sometimes games like that happen.
Well, I mean, it's just you have to me, I look at things, you know, I'm reactionary. I react to what I see. And what I saw was a well-executed first day of practice. It was.
Practice.
I mean, the guys were enthusiastic. They were running. They were moving fast. You know, the defense was adjusting to different formations. The linebackers were moving people all around. You know, it looked good. It looked good. Did it look good enough? I can't tell you that. I don't know. I couldn't say that. I can't tell you that. And I'd love to, you know, I always learned you never want to really come up with a judgment until you see them in pads.
Right.
I'm a physical guy. I love physical football. That's what I coached. I believe in it. Though I want to watch them hit each other before I'm going to say, yeah, oh, look out. But
there you go.
For where they are, for what they were trying to get done on that day, I thought it was a very good practice. Very good.
Well, it's all about the line of scrimmages. You know that on both ends of the ball. Because if you can't control your line of scrimmages, you might as well forget about the game. Mike, can you explain to everyone how they can get a copy of your book?
Sure.
Or where they can buy it?
You pretty much can get it anywhere. Now, you know, because of the fact that, don't get me wrong, you know, when you're a person like me and you write a book, you know, I'm not James Patterson. You know, I'm not a famous author. I'm just not. You know, I'm Mike Westhoff that wrote a book. Okay. So in a way, when you publish it like I did, it's almost kind of like you self-publish. So I had to be involved. So it's not but the good thing about what I did is a company like I was with, we produced a very good product. It's a good book. It's got a great cover. It's all edited. It's all licensed. You know, I had to license every photo. It's really a heck of a book. Now, we can't just put it out everywhere. They don't have the money to say go into Barnes & Noble and give every Barnes & Noble 20 Mike Westhoff books. They can't do it. So, you know, in that regard, so I have to kind of build. Though you can get my book anywhere online. You can get it through Barnes & Noble. You get it at Target. You get it at Giant. You can get it at Walmart.
Amazon.
Yeah, and you get it now. Amazon is a good way to get it. You can go to Amazon, just put in the book, the title, figure it out. They'll deliver it right to your house. They can deliver. I don't know if they have any more hard copies left because we sold most of them out. Or you can go to the publisher. That's an easy way. The publisher is a great way, and that's Mascot Books, Mascot. You go to Mascot Books, type it in. That's the best price you can get probably, and they'll deliver it right to your house. So there's several ways to get it. You probably have to do it online. It's not just like, you know, you can walk in and look at the bookstore and there's a whole big display of Mike Westhoff books. We've gotten 5-star ratings. I'm very proud of that. And we've gotten very, very good reviews. You look on social media and we've done exceptionally well. I'm very proud of the way it's been accepted. I'm extremely proud of it.
That's great. That's great. Because I have a friend of mine here. He's a media colleague. His name's Claudio Rosano, and he has a book out called "Think from the Heart Up, Not the Neck Up," and it talks about sports. He's the head baseball coach here at Carnegie Mellon University. He's been there for a good 18 years. He also has coaches clinics. He's heavily into baseball and boxing. He has a show that he does with 2 other guys here called the Boxing Authorities. And, you know, he talks boxing and, you know, he has a lot of guests on his podcast show. And, you know, Claudio has a book out. I bought it off of Amazon, and it's a great book. I'll buy yours, of course. I just need
get it.
You'll
enjoy
it off
it.
Amazon.
I promise. Hey, how did you get to be a New York Jet guy when you're in Pittsburgh with that accent?
No, you know what I do? Yeah,
you can tell me how you're doing that.
I'm gonna tell you a little story here. Okay.
Go ahead.
I used to drive a cab here, and I had a guy get in my cab at the airport, and you know what he said to me? He didn't believe me that I've lived in Pittsburgh my whole life. Okay. And I told him, I says, I've lived here my whole life. He says, you sure you're not from New York or Chicago? I said, no. I said, I've lived here my whole life. Why? He says, you're the very first cab driver that I've had that doesn't speak Pittsburghese. You speak in some kind of different, you know.
That's a good point. You have a little bit of an accent. You don't speak Pittsburghese, though. I would agree with him on that part. He's right about that one. But how did you ever get to be a Jets fan? How did that happen?
Well, I'm not a Jets fan. What I do, Mike, is I like to bring guys on from like who the Steelers are going to go up against. Like we're going up against the Jets this year, New England.
Okay.
I just had Steve on to talk about New England. And Steve and I have been on shows with Scott Morganroth from the South Florida Tribune.
Okay.
We've been on his podcast a few times. I've come to
Okay.
know Steve. And then I saw a thing on Facebook about your book, and I took a look at it. And I said, "Oh, and he's a former assistant coach, and he's been with the Jets. I'd like to try to have him on, talk a little
Sure.
bit about the Jets and his coaching background.
Yeah,
You know,
'cause
I
you're gonna
like to have
play them.
interesting guests on my show,
No,
other
no,
than
I
just
get
the
you. I
normal
understand.
reporters
I
from
got it.
here.
I got it now. I understand now. I got it.
Yeah.
I could have wore. I didn't have any Pittsburgh shirts. I didn't have
Oh,
any
don't
Steelers
worry
shirts.
about that. You know,
I mean, I grew up
just
there.
like
That's
to
where I
bring
grew up.
insight I just like to bring insight as to what our competition is doing. You know what I mean?
That's a good
you know?
point.
Yeah,
That's a good
and
point.
like you know, right before baseball got started, I had a summit where I had Scott Morganroth on, and I had a few other baseball guys on, and oh gosh, not Scott Morganroth. He's down in California. He has a show on Blog Talk Radio, and he deals with. He's a reporter for the Oakland A's. I'm trying to remember his name. Oh, Bruce Kessinger. That's it. I had Kessinger and I had Morganroth on. Kessinger talked about the West Coast part of baseball, and Morganroth from Florida. He talked about all the Florida teams and everything down in that end. And we had a little summit, and I talked about the Pirates, and we had a nice little three-way conversation. And I like to have those kind of conversations, little summits, little, you know what I mean, to see what other
Sure.
teams are doing. You know,
Sure.
educate my audience a little bit as to what goes on, you know, with other teams, not just
No,
with the
that's
Steelers.
a good idea.
You know,
That's a
and
good idea.
you know, and then plus too, there's a lot of people here that have podcasts that talk about the Steelers. There's a lot of people that have you know, shows here to talk about the Steelers, and sometimes, you know, you want a different variety of things. So that's why I invited you on, and Steve, and I get Scott on here once in a while, Morganroth, and he's in charge of the South Florida Tribune, and I've had a few other guys on as well that are you know, prominent reporters from
I mean,
Peter
you know,
Blake from Tampa. So I mean,
grew
you
up,
know.
you know, I grew up in Pittsburgh, and
Oh, did you really?
Sure, I grew up in the East End.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, my father.
I'm
my
from
father
Bloomfield.
held. My father held the records at Central Catholic High School until Dan Marino beat him. Till Dan
Wow.
beat him. Yeah.
Yeah.
I grew up there, and then when I was in like junior high school age, we moved out to Bethel Park. And I
Oh,
lived
yeah,
out there
yeah.
and went to school there, graduated there. We were in 1964. We were undefeated and probably the best team in the state of Pennsylvania. And I grew up there. And so I know I have big Pittsburgh roots, and I that was a great place. I worked in the steel mills, though. You know, I'm a big Pittsburgh fan. I love the Steelers. I never worked for them. I went against them a lot of times. They probably have an edge on me. They probably got me more times than I got them, but I won a few. But I have a lot of respect for them. You know, I always thought they did things very well. I think their organization, and you know, and I believe we'll see them start to build back and get back to where they were. I think they kind of have gotten away from that a little bit through some injuries, and we'll find out how they're going to be. So they're always fun to watch, and I have a lot of respect for them.
Yeah, the interesting thing is, Mike, we're going to see what Mike Tomlin does this year. He doesn't have a franchise quarterback, and he has to pick from 3 quarterbacks.
That's correct.
So we're going to find out how that's going to work.
Any idea who's ahead in that race? Have you heard? I just try to read what I see in the papers.
Well, I had a couple good sources tell me Trubisky's already been chosen. They're just putting the competition out there to make it look something. That's what I was told. But, you know, it's anybody's match right now. I mean, Mason Rudolph, this camp just started. The first game's this Saturday. And, you know, they're at home. And, you know, so it's going to be an interesting scenario to see how this works out. Don't spell out Mason Rudolph. He's a good quarterback, just had to sit behind Ben for 5 years, you know.
Right.
So we'll see what he does. He could be the starter. Trubisky, you know, I said that the Steelers should have signed Trubisky because I sat and had a debate with many of my media colleagues on, I have a TV show with the same name that I do on Pittsburgh Community Television, Channel 21, on Comcast and 47 Verizon here in Pittsburgh. And, you know, I said to my co-host, Smoking Jim Frazier, who used to be a scout for the Steelers, and I said to him, I think they're going to sign Trubisky, and I was right, they did that. He thinks Mason Rudolph's going to be the starting quarterback. So we'll see. I mean, you know, there's a lot hype about this. People picking Pickett to take it. We'll see what happens. I think
I'm
Kenny
gonna.
Pickett's going to have to sit back and
I'm
wait a
from what
few.
I've heard, just around. Nothing really. But I think Trubisky's from the guy that what I understand, from
Yeah.
what I know, and from the people that I've talked to, there's a lot of respect for that young man. I think people
Right.
think that he's a pretty good football player, so that wouldn't surprise me at all if he's the guy. We'll see. I'm like you. I really
Yeah.
don't know either. I'm
I
being just a fan,
yeah.
just to watch. But I think if I had to bet, I'm not going to bet a lot. I'm not going to bet my boat, but I might
Right.
bet a little bit on that guy.
I think it's going to be Trubisky too, because I said if they sign Trubisky, he's going to be the starter. I watched him play in Chicago. He didn't have a real good timer with Nagy, as the head coach. He sat behind Josh Allen last year up in Buffalo. So we'll see what Trubisky can do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now it's his time
Sometimes
to
you
get.
get, a guy gets in with a good, you get up there with Buffalo, last year with that, with Allen, and they had a heck of an offense, and you can learn a lot of football. And so
Exactly.
sometimes, that's a good breeding ground. I think it'll be very interesting to see how they are. It's going to be a good battle. I think it'll be a lot of fun to watch, and of course it's very
it is.
competitive because that division's pretty good now. I mean,
Yes, it is.
Cincinnati Bengals are the real deal. And,
Yeah,
and,
they
and
are.
Baltimore's
They are.
always tough. Baltimore's tough, and Cleveland's fighting to get going. So, it's always a good battle. That's a good battle. Those are all tough teams.
Well, the Ravens this year, Mike, they stocked up on beef. I mean, they went out and got some heavy-duty players, and they had like 8 6-round draft picks or 4th-round picks or something like that. They had a bunch of them in the 4th round, eight picks, and I mean, they really stockpiled beef. I mean, they drafted that kid from Minnesota, that offensive lineman that I wanted the Steelers to take, that Daniel Falali. He weighs 380 pounds. He's like 6'9". He's another, So I mean.
They've got a quarterback that can run the ball now.
Yeah.
They got a quarterback that can run the football. So that's a football team that's going to beat you running the ball.
Oh yeah. And then not
gonna
only
beat you
can he
running the ball.
block, but he can do like Refrigerator Perry. He can run, the goal line situation. He can line up in the backfield. He can throw. They showed him throwing the ball. Sometimes he'll hold the ball for the kicker and do a fake.
Really?
I mean, this guy can do a lot of stuff.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that at all.
Because I watched the film on him when he got drafted. They showed the film of all the things he can do. He
Really?
can catch. He can catch right in the
that
end zone.
doesn't
Like
surprise me.
an offensive lineman tackle eligible. That kind of thing.
Right, sure.
And they drafted Travis Jones from Connecticut. He's a 360-pound nose tackle. I thought the Steelers should have taken the 1st round, but they got Kenny Pickett. I'm satisfied with that. They got George Pickens from Georgia, wide receiver. Calvin Austin the third from Memphis, a fast wide receiver. So the Steelers did okay with their draft this year, I think.
Sure.
And I think they signed a bunch of free agents. They're going to do good.
It'll be fun to watch. It'll be fun
It
to
is.
watch.
It's Mike. Thanks for being on the program. I really
You're
appreciate
more than
it.
welcome. I appreciate you letting me give my book a plug. I think people will
absolutely.
enjoy it. It's a good story about good guys that changed the game in the National Football League. That's what we did. Now the rules have changed and it's kind of reverted back a little bit, but we had that opportunity to do that. It's a book about all types of things. I think people will enjoy it. I think they'll very much enjoy it, and I'm glad you gave me a chance to talk about it a little bit. So thank you.
Hey, you're welcome, Mike, and thank Denise as well, your public relations manager.
Yeah, she does a great job.
She's a great
I told her
person.
she
Tell
should
her thank you.
renegotiate her. She renegotiate her contract. 'Cause she does a good job. She saved me. She saves me. I'll just come right out and say it. She saves me.
Hey, you know what?
So it's been a lot of fun. It's been a challenge in a whole different part of my life. I'm proud of this book, and I think
That's
people
good.
will very much enjoy it. So you spend $20. You're gonna. Believe me, it's a good deal. I'm very proud
Okay,
of it.
yeah, I'm going to pick it up, Mike, and I love to
And
read
get me on
sports
again
books,
sometime. We'll talk
especially.
about it when the season
I will
gets
do
going.
that. I absolutely will. No doubt about it. You'll always be one of my top guests here on this show. That's a
Okay.
definite.
Thank you, Ralph.
You're welcome, Mike. You have a great night. Thank you so much.
Okay. Good night.
That was Mike Westhoff. He's the author of a book about his coaching career. You can catch it on Amazon. Mike Westhoff, I want to thank him so much for being here. And I want to thank his publicity person, Denise, for making this all happen. All right, now we're going to continue on with our special 2-hour edition of Sports Corner, where we're going to talk about some more Steelers training camp, Pirates trades. Penguins signed Denton Heinen. They brought him back. What are the Penguins going to about his book, also, about his book about the Jets and his coaching career and everything else. I want to apologize for the technical issues, but we're back in business here. All right. I want to talk about Roger Goodell. Shame on you. And this is tonight's Ralph's rant. Shame on you, Roger Goodell. And the reason I say shame on you is because of this situation with Deshaun Watson. All right. You went ahead, Roger Goodell, and you gave Ben Roethlisberger a stiff penalty. You went ahead and you gave Martavius Bryant a stiff penalty for smoking pot. Okay. You went ahead and you gave another athlete a stiff penalty. Okay. Because he was gambling. All right. And then you have this lady who was a circuit court judge or some kind of federal judge or whatever that is now hearing cases for the NFL. And now she makes these decisions. And now the NFL is going to, petition it or appeal it or whatever, that Deshaun Watson's only going to serve 6-game suspension. So that means the Steelers get to not look at him for one game and look at him for one more game. And that's the final game of the year, which if the Cleveland Browns end up catching up, they can't catch up anymore because the Steelers Stadium's no longer Heinz Field. They can't catch up there anymore. It's now Acrisure Stadium, so they can't play catch up there. So anyway, I think that Roger Goodell ought to be ashamed of himself for not giving Deshaun Watson at least a year off, or maybe even ban him for life like he did Martavius Bryant. All right, I think that the NFL plays favorites just like everything else. And it turns out now that this guy is only going to get 6 games off. And what a stiff punishment for a guy who did what he did. And that's a shame. And, I think the NFL and the whole operation of the NFL and their discipline, they ought to be ashamed of themselves. They didn't do anything to Tom Brady when he was involved in Deflategate. They didn't ban Bill Belichick from coaching for the rest of his life after the signal nonsense that went on in the Steeler playoff game and whatnot. So they gave him a $40,000 fine and told him that he was off for preseason games. So NFL, get your house in order. Make sure that you please try to straighten things up, and let's be a little bit fair in how you hand out discipline. And now that you have this lady who was supposedly some federal judge who now hears all these disciplinary things because the NFL's afraid and Roger Goodell's afraid that if he does something, he's gonna have some major problems. Okay. And they're not going to think of me this way, or they're not going to think of me that way, or they're not going to think of me this way. Roger Goodell works for the owners. Okay. It doesn't matter. He has to make the decisions on the owners. He don't like the Players Association. He doesn't care about players. He only cares because he works for the owners. And everyone needs to understand that Roger Goodell is going to be the way he is. And ever since, Dan Rooney died, and I don't understand what the problem is here. Maybe it's Art II. I don't know. But it seems like since Dan Rooney died, he seems to have it out for the Steelers. So that's fine. Okay, you go ahead and do that. But I want to say this to all the Steeler players out there. You better behave, because I think this judge or this lady and Roger Goodell are going to suspend you for 50 games if you so much as even chew bubble gum the wrong way as a disciplinary measure. And that tonight is my Ralph's rant here on Sports Corner. All right, let's talk about the Steelers training camp practice ended today. Najee Harris is still out with a foot injury. Supposedly, from what Mike Tomlin says, that Najee Harris got his foot stepped on, and he's just keeping him out for precautionary precautionary measures. Excuse me. So anyway, and also today, Pat Freiermuth was held out for precautionary as well, and Deontay Johnson still crying like a little baby because he's not getting what he wants for his money. Omar Khan, our general manager, was on today, and he was doing the typical, what they call, the same old toe the company line kind of thing, just like Mike Tomlin. Well, we're going to play with the players we have, and we're working out something with Deontay Johnson. We've spoken to his agent, and we did this and we did that, and we had somebody there we paid to have his car washed and all that other stuff. So I mean, Deontay Johnson is not that great of an athlete. All right, he's a good player when he catches the ball. Okay, all right. He's had a lot of drops, but they say he's a good practice player. He's come in, showed up this year, done what he needs to do. All right. But what Mike Tomlin has to start doing, okay, is telling him, you got to start playing. Now, today he practiced. He's been working out on his side, but they said today he actually practiced. All right. I saw some footage of him catching some balls today, some of the ones that he can catch. All right. Because, he's Crisco Fingers #1, but he wants $20 million a year. Okay. All right, Deontay Johnson is a good wide receiver. He's not a great wide receiver to deserve the money. And I've said this many times. My co-host, Smoking Jim Frazier, has said this on the TV show many times, okay, that wide receivers, there are always a lot of them in the draft. You can always get wide receivers. There's a ton of them every year. This year was a prime example. There were 40. They had to have a top 40 this year. That's how many wide receivers they had for the draft. There were so many of them, they had to have a top 40. All the other positions, they had top 10s and top 20s. Okay. This year, they had to have a top 40 for the wide receivers. And that's going to be a considerable thing as well. Wow, I got all the notoriety people here today because I had Mike Westhoff on. I got Adam Schefter here. I got Noel asking me about the Browns signing Jamarcus Russell for the 6 games. Yeah, that's a real funny one there, Joel. Yeah, okay. That's a real good one there. I like that, Noel. I really do. Donald Sterling, stop complaining about the owners. Oh, well, you know what? I'm going to complain about the owners anytime I want, Donald, because you know why? This is my show, and I say what I want. So there you go. All right. Let's see here. Some more here about, okay. Yep, TJ Hushmanzada, Adam Schefter. I got all these guys here. Hey, it's great. I'm glad you showed up on my show finally. You finally recognized I'm a national treasure here at Sports Talk here on Sports Corner since the Pittsburgh media has left me out in the lurch, but that's beside the point, okay? I'm talking about the prominent media. I'm not, I have some media friends, but some of the ones, they know who they are, so. All right, anyway, the 2022 Hall of Honor, Myron Cope has been nominated for is going to be put in this year, inducted. Sam Davis, sad to hear about what happened to him. He was living in a personal care home in McKeesport. He died there. He didn't die. He died about a year or so ago. Ray Matthews and Heath Miller. There's a name of recognizable of current as Ray Miller. Or I'm sorry, Heath Miller. Wow. Ray Miller, former pitching coach of the Pirates and Baltimore Orioles over the years. Chris Boswell was given a 5-year contract, $20 million. He deserves it. Chris Boswell's been a really good kicker for us, 5th in the league in kicking. And so we'll see what happens. I hear Justin Tucker, who kicks for the Ravens, I hear he wants more money. So we're going to find out where that goes because Boswell just got paid, a high salary here. Also $12 million in guaranteed money as well. for Chris Boswell. Preseason schedule starts this coming Saturday at Acrisure Stadium. It'll be on KDKA TV. Or actually, I'm sorry. No, they don't play till the 13th. What am I saying? August 13th, which happens to be next Saturday. The Steelers play Seattle in the first preseason game of the year. There's 3 of them this year, not 4. They play Seattle, Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll's under the gun. Seattle has a lot of good talent, and they kind of laid an egg last year. And, so we're going to find out what Pete Carroll does this year. He doesn't have Russell Wilson, so we'll see what happens there in Seattle with Pete Carroll. And then don't forget, on the 20th, we play Jacksonville, 7 p.m. That's on KDK. That is on a Saturday as well. And that will be at Acrisure Stadium. And then, that's away. We're in Jacksonville for that one. The 2 of the 3 games are at home. We play on the 28th at home against the Detroit Lions. And we're going to see what Matt Campbell's team does Dan Campbell's team does this year. His brother Matt is a coach at Iowa State. But Dan Campbell, we're going to find out what the Detroit Lions are going to do this year. They tied the Steelers last year in the regular season. So in quarterback battle, Trubisky, Mason Rudolph, Kenny Pickett. So far, it's been a pretty evenly matched thing. But, of course, it's early, all right? We still have a lot of practicing to go before they play next Saturday. We're going to find out what's going on. Trubisky so far has done well. Mason Rudolph is doing – and Pickett did well today with the second stringer. So we're going to find out how that works and how that's going to happen. And who is going to be the starting quarterback? I think it's going to be Mitch Trubisky. So we'll see how that all works out. And Tyree Johnson was cut from the team. He was an undrafted free agent from Texas A&M. He was cut, and so not too much else going on other than, as I mentioned before, Omar Khan was on today stating that they're still confident that they can sign Deontay Johnson. So we'll see what's going on with the Steelers as far as all that goes. Pirates, they're 40-62. What's happening right now is what I've been saying for forever, this whole entire season, and that is that they stink and they blow it every time right after the All-Star break. I don't know what it is with the Pirates, but they seem to have to fall apart, whether it's with any kind, whoever the manager could be at this point. It could be just about anybody. It could be Batman. It could be Superman. It could be anybody, okay? And they'll still stink after the All-Star break, and they'll still leave men on base, just like they did tonight against Milwaukee here, okay? Again, 2 outs and bases loaded, and they can't bring at least 1 run in. They can't even bring 1 in, and they do it all the time. And for the last 20 or so years, okay, the Pirates have been the worst team in the league with runners in scoring position. They can't seem to bring runners in, okay, because they don't have any players that can hit when there's men on base. Reynolds is the worst, okay? Brian Reynolds can't hit. You got Ornell Cruz striking out. You got the $80 million man and Key Brian Hayes constantly striking out. You have nobody that really hits over 300. They're all barely batting their weight. So what I'm saying to you is, how is the Pirates going to make any hay this year? All right, even though they're up 5-3 right now against a tough first place Milwaukee team, okay? But then they play a sad Arizona team or a sad Tampa Bay team or a sad Cincinnati Reds, and they can't beat them. And they can't beat Baltimore, or they can't beat any of those teams. But Baltimore is having a decent season this year. So, we'll see what happens with the Pirates the rest of the way. They traded Jose Quintana and Chris Stratton to the Cardinals. They received in return pitcher Johan Guito. And then they also got corner infielder Malcolm Nunez. Those were the players they picked up in the trade to the Cardinals. I was actually quite surprised that they did any business with the Cardinals because the Cardinals are in our division. So that means we have to go up against Quintana and we have to go up against Chris Stratton. And let me guess, Quintana's going to win 10 games and maybe get the Cy Young this year, okay? And Stratton's going to have the best pitching of his life at St. Louis because every time they leave the Pirates, they get better wherever they go. And that's just the way it is. So can the Pirates get out of this funk? All right? Or are they going to continue to do as I keep telling you they're going to do, and that's losing games after the All-Star break? For some strange reason, they just stink the joint up, and I don't understand why. I just don't know. I have no idea why. All right? Brian Reynolds trade talks with the Padres for 2 pitchers. That has gone bye-byes. Ben Cherington said today Reynolds is going nowhere. All right? And I was, maybe I'm wrong. I said Kevin Newman was going to get traded. All right. Still could happen. Who knows? Okay. He hasn't been traded yet, or he's probably not going to be traded. After I had told you on prior shows that Newman was going to get traded because I had heard from 3 prominent sources that they were going to trade Kevin Newman because they have all these young players. They don't need Kevin Newman. Okay. But since Kevin Newman has come back, okay, since he has come back from his injuries, Kevin Newman has been hitting better. He's been fielding still even better. Okay, so his rehab assignments must have been pretty decent for that to happen. Pirates are stockpiling arms. Okay, all right, they're stockpiling pitchers. 18 to 20 of their draft picks were pitchers. Okay, you gotta have good pitching. And what has hit the Pirates from winning games for the longest time? Lack of pitching, lack of hitting, lack of star power, lack of veteran presence. Those are the 4 things, okay, that have lacked the Pirates over the years. Okay, but you can't keep a veteran pitcher when you sign them for 1 year and then trade them in the middle of the season when the trade talks come up. Look what they did to Tyler Anderson. Okay, Tyler Anderson was a really good coach. Or I'm sorry. Oh my gosh, a really good pitcher. Okay, all right. I thought the Pirates should have kept him. They traded him. They traded him to Seattle. He failed his physical there. All right. Now he's playing for the Dodgers. Get this. He's going to be a Cy Young Award candidate this year. What am I missing? Trevor Cahill. He was a good experienced pitcher from last year. Okay, he got hurt. He never resurfaced. Now he's doing well somewhere else. It's always somewhere else that everybody does well for pitching wise, except here, because the reason why is because it's that simple. Okay, you can't do well here in Pittsburgh. It's just not going to happen. All right, and we're all sitting out there still blaming Bob Nutting. We're still out there talking about how bad of an owner he is. We all know that. Okay, we all know that, but we're going to have to wait some more because we have a new management regime here. Ben Cherington and Travis Williams. Okay, let Ben Cherington do his job before you make comments about Bob Nutting. Okay, Bob Nutting hasn't even been around. Bob Nutting showed up the day that they signed the first round draft choice. He showed up at PNC Park. They haven't seen Bob Nutting. He don't want to be seen. Okay. Because Travis Williams and Ben Cherington told Bob Nutting, and I've said this on many shows, and I heard this from some sources, they both told him, stay out of it because we're not going to work for you if you're going to do this to us. Okay? They want to win. They want to win bad. Bob Nutting don't want to win. He's only worried about making money. And it's pretty sad that his own friend, Travis Williams, who is currently the president in charge of the Pirates, had to lay the law down to him and say, look, you're not going to do to me what you've done to these other guys. It's not going to happen. Okay? If you want us here, you're going to have to pay us, and B, you're going to stay out of it. Because if you don't, we're not going to work for you. And then the Pirates would have really went down the toilet because then they would have had to stick with Ben Cherington. And, I had this argument with somebody when the Pirates used to be on 104.7. Okay. I had an argument with the guy that was hosting the Pirates pregame show. And I told him, John Russell and Neil Huntington were nothing but janitors. okay, or whatever. All right. They don't know nothing about baseball because if they did, the Pirates wouldn't be where they were. And then I get this. I can't remember who the host was. It was about 10 or 12 years ago. Okay. Then then he comes on and he goes, "Oh no, you don't know what you're talking about. They're prominent people. John Russell's never been a prominent anything as a coach or a manager." Okay. All right. And Neil Huntington couldn't find his way out of a paper bag. All right. And he made trades just to make trades. All right. Oh, I know. I had to make the trade for Chris Archer because everybody was beefing and screaming and hollering and crying that the Pirates weren't going to do anything. So he got pressured to get rid of Austin Meadows, who became an all-star. And then he got rid of a few other guys who really Andrew McCutchen should have never been traded either. Okay? So here we are. And that's why the Pirates are where they are. But Ben Cherington has taken a Boston Red Sox team that was nothing for years and took it to a World Series. Okay? And he did it there, he can do it here. But he has to get cooperation from the owner. And he said, "I'm not taking this job if you're going to screw me. I don't want this job." Okay? So Bob Nutting had to agree to stay out of everything. And he has. You haven't seen him around. He was out last year. He wasn't around. He was out handing out food boxes over at North Shore. But you didn't see Bob Nutting. You don't even see him down at spring training hardly anymore. And he used to come on and he used to make an idiot of himself because he'd come on and he would go, "Well, we're going to compete for a championship. I think we have the talent." No, you don't. You never did have the talent, Bob. But he would come on and say that every single year. And that bothered Clint Hurdle because you're putting Clint Hurdle on the spot now. Okay? And Clint Hurdle wore out his time here. He did what he could do. All right? And now it's Derek Sheldon's turn. And this is his third season. All right? What's he going to do? We're in last place again. And we're beyond the All-Star game and we're falling apart once again. Once again. It's the same old Pirates. Okay? We have players that are getting paid a ton of money that strike out. Okay? We have players that are getting a ton of money that can't drive runs in. Okay? Our four biggest problems, and we can't solve them, ever. All right? Nobody wants to play in Pittsburgh. Nobody wants to play for the Pirates. All right? I don't care who you have as your manager. But I said this because when I had Marty Leap on the show here, who is a Pirate reporter for Rum Bunker, okay, which is a newspaper that covers baseball, all right, all across the country. He's the reporter for the Pirates for them, Rum Bunter, okay? And you know what he said to me? He said that he thinks Derek Sheldon is a John Russell until they can get somebody decent in here. And then it came to my attention that who are you going to get to come in here? You have Joe Madden still sitting out there, okay? The ex-Angels manager. He can work with young talent, but he fails with the big names. He'd be perfect. Look what he did at Tampa Bay. You got Joe Girardi sitting out there. Okay, he was just fired from the Phillies, but the Phillies are doing better now than they did when he was managing them. Okay, he didn't do that great as a Yankees manager, the Cubs manager, but he's out there. I'd bring him in as a consultant or something to get this thing going. The Pirates brought in Andy Haynes, who is one of the best hitting instructors in the entire Major League Baseball, and we still can't hit. Okay? And the only reason that he's not there anymore in Milwaukee was because he got into it with a couple of the top stars. And you know what they're going to say? You're going to have to hit the road if you can't get along with the stars. Okay? Because the stars is what makes you money, is what drives in the runs, is what does this and does that. Okay? All right? Is Don Kelly the right bench coach? Is Tarek Brock the right first base coach? Okay? It's, we had Cora here all those years. So I mean, what is how can we solve this problem? All right. You got to bring in good management people, and you got them right now. But is Derek Sheldon the answer? I don't know. Derek Sheldon is another Jim Leyland. He's walking into a hornet's nest. Okay? And he can only do with what you have. He's a good baseball man. Jerry DePaula told us that last week. He's a good baseball guy. Okay? So if he gets a lot of that stuff, that's what he can do. All right? But he needs the talent, he needs the horses, he needs the thoroughbreds. Okay? He don't have the thoroughbreds. He has guys like Key Brian Hayes who can make a really good third base play, but can't hit. And it's going to be making $80 million. Okay? Oh, Bob Nutting's great. He signed his first-round draft pick. He signed Reynolds, and he signed Hayes. I'm hearing now they want to get rid of, they want to trade Bednar. Why? You got to build somewhere. I know you need arms. You got arms, but they're not being coached right. Okay? Cole Tucker, he was in the system for 7 years. Nothing. Now he'll go somewhere else and he'll become an all-star. All right? It's the same old Pirate story every time. And it's like a broken record or a skipping CD. All right? And now it's the same thing again, and I can say I told you so. All right? They'll win one game tonight and lose 10 more. You can't do that. You have to be consistent. And they're not consistent, the Pirates. All right. All right, talk about the Pens here. I spoke earlier. They re-signed Danton Heinen, who they thought actually they were going to lose. He kind of was the odd man out. It's kind of like, well, the Pens kind of ran out of money. They made some trades to get rid of some money, to free money up to bring Malkin back in. What's your thoughts on that? Malkin back, Letang back, Rust back, Crosby back. All right. They want to bring the gang back together. Oh, and Mike Sullivan's still here. He's back too. Okay. So here we are. The gang is all back together, but the same result in the last 5 years. The same result. We haven't made it past the first round since we won the Stanley Cups back to back. Oh, but it's hard in a salary cap type of a league now to win like that. How come Tampa Bay did it too? How come a few other teams have done it? Okay? It can be done. We can win more Stanley Cups. We should have more than what we have based on the talent that we have or have had. I hear that big goof, Phil Kessel's sitting out there now. Okay? Can't bring him here. Rick Tockett's got to come with him because Rick Tockett's his handler, his babysitter. He's a goof. Okay? When he was here, when Tocchet took the job in Arizona and he ended up being here, he stunk. He was terrible. But when Tocchet was here and babysitting him because he was a goof, okay? Here we are with that. Sports Corner, I'm Ralph Williams. It's great. Comment section's wide open. I got a bunch of stuff here tonight, from a bunch of people about a bunch of different things. James Harrison starting the quarterback for the Steelers. Oh, it's funny. It really is. I don't even want to even read none of these comments. I got the guys who, what is it with this? Why is it me? Why don't you go after, some of these other guys, like the Pompianis and some of these other guys? Why? Why do you go after me like this? What? Really? Yeah. Okay. All right. Pitt football training camp starts this week. Pitt will be good, but not great. Jerry DePaula told us that last Tuesday. They're going to be good. They're going to win the Coastal Division of the ACC. They're going to be 8-4, 9-3, and the pre-prediction for their bowl game is against Florida in the Gator Bowl. And I found out today that the West Virginia game against Pitt at Acrisure Stadium is sold out. Can't get a ticket. Okay? So they're sold out. Basketball. This is definitely has to be Jeff Capel's year for men's basketball this year for Pitt. He has to do something. And if he doesn't, Heather Lyke has to fire him, or Heather Lyke should be fired. Because I want to know who the person was at Pitt that gave Jeff Capel this kind of a contract with the buyout clause. Okay? What, you were afraid you were going to lose him to Duke? Mike Krzyzewski saw what he was doing here at Pitt. He wasn't about to say, come to Duke and play for us, or coach for us. He passed that baton down to somebody else. Okay? All right? And the transfer portal, that doesn't do anybody any good. It's worked for Pitt, and it's been against Pitt. I told you what happened last year or before that with the Champagnes and all them other guys, the Johnsons and all that were on the team. It was all over a girl. I told you that. Pitt didn't release it, but I got it from somebody close to Pitt. Nobody else got that but me, and nobody else revealed it but me. That was over a woman. Xavier Johnson, Champagne, and there was a few other guys involved in this. Yeah, they were all friends. And then this woman was friends with all these guys, with all these Pitt players. And then all friends. All right? And that's what this was all about. Okay? And if anyone else tells you any different, they're wrong. Okay? Last year in the Fiesta Bowl, was fighting on the sidelines. Why do you think Cam Brown of winning the bowl game? I would have left too. Pitt girls basketball yeah. That way tonight. I don't know why, but we're getting it worked out here. So, but Lance White, the girls basketball coach for Pitt, seems to be doing better this year. He has a good recruiting class, and he did better last year, unlike Jeff Capel. All right. Other Pittsburgh sports: Pittsburgh Riverhounds won last Saturday, 1-0 against FC Tulsa. All right. And this coming Saturday, the Hounds play Indy 11 in Indy, 8 p.m. start time. And then the following Saturday, the 13th, they play at Highmark Stadium against Memphis. So the Riverhounds on a roll. You know, they've had a good team with Bob Lilly over the last few years. The Maulers have some players here that were signed by NFL teams. Bailey Gaither. You know, Bailey Gaither, he was the top wide receiver this year in the USFL. And what was interesting was toward the end of the season, he didn't see the ball that much when they had the Rogers kid in there, and then they had, some other folks, quarterbacks that kept, Kirby Wilson in his quarterback shuffle. He didn't get the ball towards the end of the year, but he still was the top wide receiver. He signed with the Ravens. Defensive lineman Carlos Kemp signed with the Chargers. And then defensive tackle Jeremiah Farms, New England Patriots. And I got to tell you, Farms was a very good one of the he led the league in tackles a few times this year. All right, let's talk about some other sports here. The NFL, Washington Commanders, Antonio Gandy, Golden, 24 years old, announced his retirement. Smart, get out of there and get rolling. Maybe made enough money that he doesn't want to play football anymore. And some people, they don't want to abuse their bodies anymore. Miami Dolphins, we were talking about that earlier, me and Steve BALESTRIERI. All right. We were talking about that. They're stripped of their first-round pick for 2023 and their third-round pick for 2024. Owner Stephen Ross is suspended through October 17th. He cannot have any affiliation with the team. Okay? Why? Conduct unbecoming. They were trying to sign Tom Brady before Tom Brady got out of his contract with New England before he went to Tampa Bay. You can't do that. And the Brian Flores situation, the lawsuit. Okay? And you know what? I said this. I said this on the national shows, and I said this here in Pittsburgh. And I said this on the TV show, The Smoking Jim, when he said, what would happen now, okay? All right? If Brian Flores would he be able to get along with Minka after what happened down in Miami? And you know what I said, and I was right. It wasn't Flores. It was ownership. Okay? Stephen Ross is a horrible owner. Okay? Horrible owner. All right? He was the one that wanted Minka out, not Brian Flores. And he didn't give Brian Flores any kind of management control. He didn't give him any kind of say in anything. That's one of the reasons Brian Flores he was fired, because he kept butting heads with management, the owner. This is what happens when you don't let the general manager and the coach do their jobs. Look at Jerry Jones. Look at Stephen Ross. Look at some of these owners of these teams. They're out of control. Okay? Look at Art Rooney II. He lets Mike Tomlin coach. Well, he lets Mike Tomlin get away with a lot of stuff, but that's beside the point. But he lets him coach. He lets Omar Khan be the general manager. He lets the scouts do their jobs. He lets the guy that cleans the toilets clean the toilets. Okay? Do you understand what I'm saying? You got these owners out here, they want to do it all. Let's take a look at Vince McMahon with the WWE. Last couple of years, he wanted to do it all. I don't know why my mic keeps going off. Having some streaming problems probably as well. But anyway, we're almost through. I mean, the show's almost over. We're going on close to 2 hours show tonight because I had a couple guests on. And of course, I have to do my thing here. So, that's the explanation for that. Cleveland Browns, Deshaun Watson suspended for 6 games. Who cares? That has to be the worst. And I said this in my rant earlier this evening. I said this earlier tonight on my rant. The NFL should be ashamed of themselves. 6 games? Really? And now the NFL doesn't even want to get involved in this. They have a former federal court judge handling all of their disciplinary complaint or all their disciplinary problems. And she probably has never watched a football game in her life and has no idea what she's getting herself into. Oh, I know. She was a federal court judge. But what does that have to do with disciplining football players? Oh, well, yeah, maybe it was because, she did what she did as a judge. But that doesn't have to do with the NFL. It's a whole different animal. And the NFL's sticking it to the Players Association because they don't want to be blamed for this. The NFL doesn't want to be known as having egg on their face. They don't. Okay? So you think about that for a second when you think about what happened here. And the only person that benefits from this is the Cleveland Browns. Because instead of having to worry about and have Kevin Stefanski scratching his head because he doesn't know what he's going to do about his quarterback situation. Oh, wait, he's got Jacoby Brissett. Okay? He has Jacoby Brissett instead. But Deshaun Watson now, instead of being suspended for a year or a lifetime or whatever, I think the NFL didn't want to see the Cleveland Browns have to eat it again. Because the Cleveland Browns, they do a lot of that. They make bad decisions, and they end up eating it. Remember last year? Oh, the Cleveland Browns are going to go to the Super Bowl. Instead, it was the Bengals. If Cleveland was that good, they could have beat the Steelers, and the Steelers beat them with a bad offensive line last year. Because Kevin Stefanski, who's the head coach of the Browns, thought that his doo-doo don't stink because the preliminary reports have us going to the Super Bowl. But did you ever think, Kevin, that you have to coach? And he wasn't getting along with Alex Van Pelt, to where Van Pelt almost took the Pitt offensive coordinator's position. And don't tell me that's not true, because it is. Okay? Because it is. I always thought Van Pelt should have been the Pitt coach a long time ago. We had a good Pitt guy. We had Dave Wannstedt. Steve Peterson, in his second tenure, decided to let him go. All right? Alex Van Pelt. A great coach. Coached under the best. All right? And now, guess what? He has to fight with Kevin Stefanski. Should have been the head coach of the Browns from the get-go. Instead, it was Freddie Kitchens and Harry Krishna and all these other people that were the coaches there. How many coaches has Cleveland gone through in the last 10 years? What, 10? It's like every other year they're getting rid of the coach. So, yeah, Cleveland's got, they got a little egg on their face. They didn't have much of a draft because they had to give up picks to get Deshaun Watson. Houston went to town on those picks. Lovie Smith's going to have a field day down there. I don't know why he came back. I wouldn't have took that job down in Houston. Now Stefanski has been credited to try to bring Cleveland to prominence, and now he has his starting quarterback is suspended for 6 games. 6 games. Should have been suspended for a year, but you know how the NFL works. Look at Belichick. Look at Brady. Look at all the stuff that's going on. Okay, Martavius Bryant, I said earlier tonight. Smoking pot. They banned him from life from the NFL. Gambling, they gave him a 1-year suspension. And everything else that's gone on. 30 women for Deshaun Watson. 30 women. Now, I could see if it was a couple. Then, I don't know if he did it. I don't know if he did it. But when 30 women come forward, we have a problem here. All right? Ground control to Major Roger. Yeah. Because obviously Major Roger Goodell doesn't see what the 30 women have come forward and said that Deshaun Watson was inappropriate with them. Okay? All right? And then there's this, what do we call this? The ripple down effect? Okay? One wide receiver gets $20 million a year. Now Deontay Johnson wants $20 million a year. So now these women figure, well, if that woman can sue Deshaun Watson, I can sue Deshaun Watson. Okay? So now you got 30 women lining up saying the same thing because they want to make a buck. Is that what's going on here? Maybe. I think it probably is. Because I don't see this any other way. How does a guy who has 30 complaints from women about some stuff that he's done, even if it wasn't proved, the NFL would still suspend you for a while? They suspended Art Schlichter for life, Schlichter for gambling. But it's okay to fondle or sexually harass or inappropriately touch 30 different women? How many of them dropped the charges? What, 4? Is that all he could pay off? If it's true, then he doesn't have to pay them off. Okay? And you know what? Despite the fact that this is not that show, that's the way I see it. Deshaun Watson got off easy, and the Cleveland Browns got off easy. Okay? But how many of those 6 games that he's not able to play are they going to be able to win? That's a good question right there. Okay? Cincinnati's coming back with a good team. The Ravens, as we talked about earlier, as I talked it over with Mike tonight and Steve Baliseri, the Ravens, they have beefed up themselves. Their line of scrimmages are both beefed up. They're going to run the football this year. So the AFC North is looking like this because of the situation with Deshaun Watson, but these other teams have gotten better, and Cleveland now is stuck right there. What's going to happen for the 6 games that he's not there, Deshaun Watson? Is Jacoby Brissett going to be able to move the football? I don't know. Okay? And Kevin Stefanski will end up firing Alex Van Pelt, and he'll take over the play calling duties because he was an offensive coordinator under Mike Zimmer up in Minnesota for years. Okay? He was the one that coached Kirk Cousins. All right? And you see Cousins has fallen off the loop ever since Stefanski's been gone. Major League Baseball, real quick here. Cincinnati Reds say they're cleaning house, per some reports. San Diego Padres obtain Juan Soto. Here's another greedy pig here. Okay, he wants $440 million. You didn't think the Nationals were going to pay him, did you? No. And you know what? There's 2 years left on this contract. So San Diego gets him at a discount because he wants $440 million. All right. He got traded to the Padres. All right. Padres are stacking up. They're trying to win a championship. All right. So what I'm saying to you is this. Maybe the Padres won't give Soto that money. Maybe nobody will. And guess what? He's going to be reading the Le'Veon Bell book about how to sit out and waste time and lose money because you look like a goof because you decide to do it that way. Price yourself right out of business. That's what Deontay Johnson's doing too. But Juan Soto's doing it now in baseball. And I hope nobody pays him. And he has to sit out. And then I'm going to hear, well, he should get what he's worth. $440 million? Really? My gosh. NBA, Bill Russell passed away this week. That's sad. Bill Russell was a great basketball player back in the day with the NBA. He was also a good sportsman. He was great at his craft. He was a good NBA. But I don't talk NBA on this program because we don't have a team here in Pittsburgh. And I lost interest in the NBA when Jordan got out of it. So there you are. All right. Major League Football. A spring league that was supposed to compete with the XFL and the USFL. They even named their first coach, Jerry Glanville. He was going to coach one of the teams. Well, I don't know how they structured things. I didn't read up on anything on them because I hadn't heard anything. Okay, I did follow them for a little while. But all of a sudden, I get this little pop-up that tells me that they're shutting down the ship. They did more than shut down the ship. Remember when the Alliance for American Football and the championship game shut everything down? That was the league that Hines Ward was into. And they shut their benefits down. And they just cleared out the whole league. The NFL did with that. That was another one of the NFL failed spring leagues that they've had over the years. Seems like nobody gets into these spring football stuff. They don't get into indoor football. They don't get into the spring leagues. What is it, too much? They don't like that kind of football. Too much football. Too much at all. But anyway, Major League Football left their players hang. They didn't pay their hotel bill, and the hotel shut all the players out because they were trying to do the same thing the USFL did. They had all the teams staying in one hotel. They had all the teams playing in one city. They were going to do the same model as the USFL because it works for the first year. Turns out that they ended up not paying their hotel bill, and the players got locked out. All their gear and equipment, money, whatever they left in their rooms, it's all there. They can't get it out because they didn't pay the league didn't pay the bill. Players were stuck. They didn't know how to get home, didn't have money to get home. Yeah. Just shut the league down. What a wonderful world. Next, the XFL has signed a big deal for TV rights with ESPN, Disney. Good for The Rock. It was announced this week that Hines Ward will be the coach of the San Antonio team, and Rod Woodson will be the coach in Las Vegas. But Vegas doesn't have a place to play yet. Okay? All right. And tonight, thank you for watching Sports Corner. Special 2-hour edition tonight. I had two great interviews, Steve Baldessari and Mike Westhoff. I want to thank both of them for being on the show tonight. It was great interviewing them, great talking with them, and a great night tonight here for Sports Corner. I think this was probably one of the most immaculate shows I've done. And I'm very pleased with it. And I'm sure you are as well. And I want to thank those who acted like idiots on the comments section tonight. And I want to thank those who legitimately watched the show tonight. And stay tuned next week, 8 p.m. We're here every Tuesday, live on Facebook and YouTube. And also, don't forget Thursday night, PCTV Channel 21, Comcast 47, Verizon in Allegheny County, Western Pennsylvania, live on Facebook, 6 p.m. live Thursday, Sports Corner with myself and Smoke and Jim Frazier. Saturday, 5 p.m. Sports Corner with myself and Smoke and Jim Frazier. Don't forget, Thursday night, we do double duty, me and Smoke and Jim Frazier. We have 8 o'clock, Blog Talk Radio, 347-205-9631. Daryl, I'm on the radio, Daryl, and you know who I'm talking about. Blog Talk Radio, a national wrestling show hosted by somebody in Pittsburgh. Isn't that wonderful? I don't see anybody else equaling up to what I can do. And in September, we're gonna be talking wrestling on PCTV and talking wrestling here. Yes, we are. And we're still going to be national, and we're still going to be on different platforms. All right. Wrestle Talk, Thursday nights, Blog Talk Radio. To listen, 347-205-9631. Myself, Smoking Jim Frazier, Clayton Trudor, produced by Mark Mancini. All right. We're going to talk about SummerSlam. We're going to talk about Ric Flair's last match and a whole lot more. All coming up this Thursday, 8 p.m. And don't forget, if you live in Pittsburgh in the Allegheny County area, Channel 21 Comcast, 47 Verizon Cable, Sports Corner with me and Smoking Jim Frazier. We'll be live 412-231-2288 Thursday night, right on PCTV, Pittsburgh Community Television, Sports Corner. Next month, I celebrate my 1-year anniversary on PCTV and my second go-round with sports on there. Also, don't forget 4 o'clock p.m. on Thursday, live on PCTV's Facebook page, The Way I See It TV version, 30 minutes. And that's the way I see it tonight. Everybody have a good night. Thank you for watching and be safe. Talk to you next week.